Chaos Uncontrolled Chapter 2, Night of the Blackout. Chuck and Tails had not gone to sleep since the blackout. They had been busy trying to work out what had caused the blue lightning, and so far, all they had was that it was an intense pulse of chaos energy.
I have to say, Tails, I'm stumped. I can't think of how this could possibly have happened.
Couldn't it have been just a Chaos Emerald?
We thought about that, Amy, but nothing about what happened matches with what we know about the Chaos Emeralds.
They were suddenly interrupted by a knock on the door.
It's midnight. Who could that be?
Don't worry, Master Chris, I'll get it.
Tanaka gave a small bow and got up to open the door, and in fell an exhausted-looking Sam Speed.
Uncle Sam, what's the matter?
Sam took a few heavy breaths and pointed at Tails.
Did you steal my car?
What? No!
Well, last night, someone who looked exactly like you stole my car and tied me up with this.
Sam held out a small yellow device and Tails took it. Tails inspected the object and was shocked to find a stylized symbol of two tails etched into it.
Two tails? Did you make this, buddy?
Sonic peered over Tails' shoulder for a better look.
No, I've never seen it before.
Wait, Sam, you said that they looked exactly like Tails?
Chuck turned to Sam in hopes of getting some answers.
Yeah, the only difference I can think of is that he was wearing a backpack. But then again, it was dark and I couldn't see him properly.
So, a weird light messes with Tails' gadgets. Strange blue lightning causes a citywide blackout. And now there's a copy of Tails running around?
Amy looked over at Chuck and Tails for confirmation. Tails shrugged that was pretty much all they had to go off of.
No doubt Eggman's behind this.
Sonic voiced what everyone in the room had been thinking.
Don't you dare go running off at this time of night.
Ella blocked Sonic from leaving.
But if Eggman's behind this, we need to stop him as soon as possible.
Miss Ella is correct. With the sudden blackout, the city will be in a state of confusion. And while it is possible Dr. Eggman will take advantage of the confusion, it is just as possible he has lost power as well. It would be unwise for us to attempt to investigate on so little sleep.
Mr. Tanaka leaned down to Sonic's height as he explained.
Alright, you heard them. We better get to bed. There's no arguing with them when they're like this.
Knuckles watched the blue energy crackle across the city and shut off all the lights within it. From his place on Angel Island, even with its distance from Station Square, it was obvious the effect of the energy had on the city. Knuckles knew that something that could create a pulse of chaos energy that strong would require an investigation. So for now, he would have to spend some time off of Angel Island to see what could have possibly caused it. When the blue lightning hit Eggman's face, it shut down everything. Eggman was left in the dark and silence. The lightning had even affected all of his robots. Eggman stood still for a while, trying to process what to do next. The backup generator had kicked it, and the most vital of systems were up and running, but there would be a lot of work to do to get his base up and running again, and he was not doing it alone. So his first mission was getting Deco and Boko and Bokun back to normal.
Ugh, my head.
I feel like a toaster.
The three robots thankfully only needed to be rebooted and had basically just experienced the robot version of being knocked unconscious.
Doctor, what happened?
Bokun was rubbing his head in a daze.
I don't know, but whatever it was shut down everything in the base, and I'm going to need you Nidcombots to get to work immediately.
But Doctor, we have still not recovered.
Yeah, have a heart.
Do you two want to end up in the scrap heap?
Deco and Boko began to panic and rushed to start getting everything rebooted.
Are you going to try and find the thing that caused it?
Bokun hovered next to Eggman's head curiously.
Yes, Bokun. I've never seen anything like it. That level of intense energy is something I need on my side.
What do you think it is?
I don't know. Perhaps it's one of the other world's versions of a Chaos Emerald, or maybe it's something else entirely. But as soon as the monitoring equipment is back, I'm going to find out.
Knuckles Wachowski had gotten distracted by the moon. It was half mechanical. Knuckles had been on some very strange worlds with equally strange moons in his search for Lesser Emerald. But this would now be the strangest moon he'd ever seen, dethroning the shattered rainbow moon that orbited Pandaria from its long-running position. He'd seen moons with artificial engines before, but nothing like this. Something had happened, and then someone had actually fixed the moon. Well, it confirmed that he wasn't on Earth anymore. I had no guesses to where he actually was. Something like this would surely be big news everywhere in the galaxy. Perhaps when he found Tails, they could work out where they were. And that was exactly his mission, dying his brothers and parents. The Master Emerald was also concerned. Before the light that brought him here, he had given it to Maddie to look after while he played a game with his brothers. He felt safe doing so because he trusted the diligent and observant eyes of his adoptive parents. And if anything went wrong, he was right there. He hoped that he could find them quickly. All Knuckles had to go on was the blast of chaos energy that had shot off the power an hour ago. And all that told him was that Sonic would not be in that exact spot. But Knuckles would not rest until he found that his brothers were safe. And after finding some very Sonic-like skid marks, his search brought him to the outskirts of the city. Knuckles appreciated the distance. There was too big of a risk of being seen by citizens, and he had no clue to what kind of reaction they would have to him. This area looked abandoned and was littered with robot parts. Some of them looked eerily similar in design to some of Robotnik's. Knuckles shuddered at the thought of the man and quickly reassured himself that the man was gone. He couldn't hurt them anymore.
Dr. Eggman, look!
They had finally got all the monitoring equipment active, and the reading that was the most interesting was that the machines had picked up 3 new intense signatures of chaos energy. One was stationary, one zipping along at high speed, and one right outside of the base.
Are the exterior cameras working?
Yes, Doctor.
Bring it up.
Boko tapped a few buttons and a large screen showed outside of the base.
Is that Knuckles? What's he doing here?
The echidna in question was looking through the piles of discarded robot parts and seemed to be inspecting them carefully. A few of them seemed to disturb him for some reason, and after staring at them for a few seconds, he shook his head and stopped looking through the robot parts.
Maybe he's looking for a Chaos Emerald?
He was certainly looking for something, and judging by the way he was stomping around, he wasn't having any luck.
Wait a minute.
Now that Knuckles was closer to the camera, Eggman was able to get a better look, and he started to notice some oddities. He had a slightly buffer build than he remembered, and his general facial structure seemed off. He still looked recognizable as Knuckles, but there was definitely some differences, and there were colored threads hanging among his dreadlocks like quills that also seemed more dense and thick than he remembered. Eggman squinted at the screen. Were those colored threads friendship bracelets? The Knuckles he knew would never. Probably. Eggman didn't actually know them that well, but it didn't seem like something Knuckles would do.
That's not the Knucklehead we know. That must be the one from the other world. That would explain the unusually high levels of chaos energy. Although, I've hardly ever seen a living being with such high levels of chaos energy before.
Eggman's brain started to fill up with plans. His original intent of his machine was to find a version of the Sonic Root that would have the same goal as him. But this was Knuckles, and if he was anything like the one he knew, it would be a breeze to convince him over to his side. It would just take a little acting.
You two keep monitoring the chaos energy signatures, and Bokun, I want you to go investigate the stationary one. If they are also alternate versions of who we know, I want them to be on our side.
You got it, boss.
Looks like this could be a big break for Eggman. Rouge had been having dinner with Topaz when the power went out.
Darn, I was rather enjoying myself.
Okay, everyone stay calm. I'm sure that they'll be able to get the power back soon.
Topaz had gotten out a torch and was beginning to direct people in the darkness. Rouge could still see well in the darkness, and by her judgment, the people were mostly shaken and confused. and the lightning hadn't caused any more problems.
Any ideas about what caused it?
Topaz looked down at Rouge with a questioning expression.
Not a clue. I've never seen anything like that. Not even on my world.
Rouge shrugged and shook her head.
God will have to look into this. Who knows what else that thing that caused this can do?
Whatever Rouge was about to say was interrupted by the sounds of tires screeching and a car spinning out. Rouge and Topaz ran out to help whoever was in the car.
Sonic? Knuckles? Mom? Dad? Are you there?
Tails was looking around.
He's calling for his parents?
Rouge had never heard Tails call out for his parents before. And why was he using Sieb's car and not the ex-tornado?
Hey Tails, long time no see.
Tails jumped at Rouge's voice and she was able to see a surprisingly high-tech looking backpack sitting squarely on his shoulders.
Hi. I'm sorry, but I've never seen you before.
Now that was interesting. Not only did Tails not recognize her, he also sounded different too. And it was pretty suspicious that he was acting like this right after the blue lightning knocked out the power.
I'm so sorry, kid. I must have been mistaken. I'm Rouge.
Rouge spoke slyly and leaned over and offered a hand to the fox, who was apparently not Tails.
Well, I am Tails, you got that right. But that's probably pretty easy to guess.
Rouge was very curious about this fox who seemed to be another version of Tails.
Well, Tails, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Hold on, Rouge. What if he's got something to do with the lightning?
This adorable little guy? You don't have anything to do with it, do you?
Rouge could see the unfamiliar Tails was starting to shift uncomfortably, and Rouge was certain he knew something about it.
No?
Look at him, he's clearly lying.
Now calm down, Topaz. I'm sure he'll be more than willing to tell us about what he knows. Will you?
Rouge could see the unfamiliar Tails was looking around, possibly for an escape, and fiddling with a device in his hand. Rouge and Topaz could not have predicted what happened next. Multiple green glitches effects came from the device, and where each of them landed, a perfect copy of Tails formed, performing basic actions like waving, hovering just above the ground, or calling out to them.
Holograms?
Topaz waved her hand through one of them and it glitched away. A few seconds later, the rest of them followed suit. The unfamiliar Tails had used the confusion of the holograms to escape and was nowhere to be seen.
Wow, that's one smart kid. He could even make a good spy.
Sonic Wachowski was practiced at hiding. He had spent 10 years doing it after all. He had run away from the location where he had unleashed his power. It was giving him uncomfortable memories of being discovered last time.
Okay, Sonic, you panicked and caused a huge blackout again, but it's fine, right? You just need to— Holy crap, what happened to the moon?
Sonic's stressed out rambling was interrupted by him catching sight of the moon for the first time. Sonic could do nothing but stare.
Okay, Loader, got it.
Sonic! Sonic! I got a message for you!
Sonic was startled when he heard a shrill voice he didn't know called out for him. And when he turned around, he saw a small imp-like creature with a rocket booster strapped to his back and a bag slung over his shoulder.
Say, you look different. The doctor was right. You are from a different universe.
The creature seemed to be studying him carefully. A different universe? That would explain some things.
Speaking of the doctor, he's got a message for you.
The creature pulled a shockingly large TV monitor out of his bag and pressed a button, bringing the screen to life. A silhouetted figure in a dramatic pose started talking about an offer to join him. This was giving Sonic major villain vibes. In his recent quest to show his brothers as many Earth things as possible, he had been watching his favorite shows and movies with them, and this guy fit in with them perfectly. Sonic had no intention of listening to this message any further and decided to take a page out of his dad's book. So he leafed forwards and turned the monitor off.
Hey, that's totally unfair. You can't do that.
The little creature started throwing a tantrum and turned the monitor back on, which Sonic immediately turned off again.
Stop!
Sonic was getting very entertained by this, back and forth between him and the stranger, and pressed the button again.
I'm trying to give you a message. Why won't you let me show it to you?
The strange little creature waving his arms around wildly and yelling at Sonic with his shrill voice.
Duh, because that guy's like a classic villain. There's no way I'm going to work with him.
Oh, that's
Sonic was confused. Tell on him to who?
Wait, you're telling on me?
Yeah, to Dr. Eggman, you're gonna regret this!
The imp-like creature flew off into the sky with a mischievous giggle.
Eggman?
Sonic's excitement from the back and forth game faded. Surely Robotnik couldn't be here. He just couldn't. Eggman watched this other version of Knuckles carefully inspecting some cracks in a wall that had come from a battle a few weeks ago. Other Knuckles hadn't realized he was here yet. Eggman grinned. Tricking the Knuckles he knew was something he was quite experienced in, so it probably wouldn't take much to manipulate this one. After a few breaths to ready himself, Eggman took a step forward. The loud crunch of his shoes against the debris-covered ground alerted the other Knuckles to his presence, who whipped his head around in Eggman's direction and began to approach him.
You're the stranger who is standing in the dark. I have noticed your attempt to sneak upon me. Do not attempt to hide yourself. Your heavy footsteps have already betrayed your location.
Eggman was thrown through a loop. Other Knuckles had a different accent and spoke far more eloquently than the Knuckles he was familiar with. Hopefully, he was still just as gullible.
Please, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you.
Eggman kept his head down and played up his distress.
You did no such thing. I have seen far scarier than one such as yourself.
Eggman thought it was going well. Other Knuckles seemed like he was being strung along successfully.
That's a relief to hear, because I need your help.
You need my help?
And there it was. Hook, line, and sinker.
Yes, you know someone called Sonic, don't you?
Other's Knuckles' entire stance changed. His expression changed to one of suspicion, and Eggman swore that an electrical static filled the air.
Yes?
I saw him earlier, and when I told him that he was in an entirely different world, he laughed and said that was wonderful.
Other Knuckles' expression was difficult to read.
Another world? Which one? I do not recognize this planet.
Eggman had to think for a moment. He hadn't expected a question like that.
Earth?
You lie.
Other Knuckles sounded so certain. At first, Eggman had no idea how to recover from this. But then he remembered that he was from an entirely different universe unconnected to this one. Maybe he had been to his universe's Earth. Now this had turned into an opportunity to get more information.
I'm not! What makes you think I am?
Earth's moon does not look like that.
Interesting.
Oh, I get it now. You're thinking of world as a planet. I meant in as a universe.
Eggman tried to make himself as sympathetic as possible.
A different universe?
Other Knuckles contemplated for a few seconds with a serious expression.
I see.
Oh good, it looked like the situation was back under his control.
Now that that's cleared up, back to Sonic. I told him all about him being in a different universe, and he laughed in my face when I suggested helping him work out a way to get back to his world. He said that he was going to stay here as long as he wanted, and that if Knuckles and the others wanted to go home sooner, it was tough luck. You know how selfish and reckless he is. He doesn't care about how you and the others are feeling. All he wants is the thrill of the next adventure.
Eggman played to the role of worried messenger perfectly if you asked him, and it appeared to be working. Other Knuckles was quivering with rage, and Eggman could hear him growl. Perfect.
Now I need to.
And in a second, everything changed. Other Knuckles' eyes changed from an amethyst purple to a glowing red, and his quills flowed with a bright red energy. Eggman didn't get long to contemplate any of this before the now glowing echidna leaped at him and pinned him to the wall with one hand. The other hand was filled with red electricity that was reminiscent of the blue version that had knocked out the power.
You speak blasphemy. You clearly know nothing about me or the elder of my younger brothers.
Uh-oh. Other Knuckles just called Sonic his brother. This could be bad for Eggman after what he just said.
Sonic may be reckless and act before he thinks, but uncaring and selfish, he is not. His home and family mean more to him than anything, and I know for a fact that my brother is upset, so tell me where you saw him.
When Other Knuckles asked Eggman about where Sonic was, his grip on Eggman tightened, and his other fist raised threateningly.
Alright, you got me! Aside from the whole different universe thing, I made it all up! I don't even know if your Sonic is here! Just calm down and leave me alone!
At Eggman's confession, other Knuckles looked almost disgusted at him.
You are a deceiver and a coward, and a waste of my time. I must find the rest of my tribe, and if you attempt to harm them or sully their honor, I will not take it lightly.
Eggman was too nervous at the moment to process the information he had just been provided with, and watched in silence as the red glow faded and the other Knuckles disappeared into the night. None of it had gone to plan, and Eggman might have just made a very dangerous enemy.